now. Got it.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful event with Harif. It is a beautiful day or beautiful evening here in London. This event is going to be slightly different from our usual exploration into history and language and culture. This is going to be a program about food. I think everybody enjoys programs about food. After all, we're mostly Jews and we love our food. For those who are not on our mailing list, you can subscribe at www.harif.org and you will get all the details of our events. You have to be on the mailing list to get the login details. Don't forget to check out our sister website, Point of No Return, which keeps you up to date with the news. We would welcome any questions and any suggestions that you may have, any ideas. Perhaps you might like to share your favorite Shavuot dishes with us as well. But I think just leave that till the end because we've got quite a treat for you. We are going to talk about Sephardi cuisine at Shavuot. The festival of Shavuot begins on the 4th of June this year, and it is customary for Jews to prepare dairy foods. And the festival is predominantly associated with the eating of cheesecake. But Sephardi and Mizrahi communities have their own distinct traditions. We will be joined by a fantastic lineup of expert food writers, Soli Anija, who was born in Morocco, Linda Dangour, who was born in Baghdad, Iraq, and Vivian Bowell, who was born in Egypt. And each will choose a favorite Shavuot dish and describe how the festival was celebrated in their community. And the recipes will be uploaded to the Harif website. So without further ado, I think we'll get on with the show. So this is a truly international show, I have to tell you, and apologies in advance if the technology doesn't quite match up. But first of all, we are going over to Israel, to Ashdod, where we have the Harif creative director, Michelle Huberman, together with Soli Anija. And Michelle will be interviewing Soli about her Shavuot foods. Over to you, Michelle.
Hi, everybody in London, or actually all over the world, because I know our audience comes from everywhere. And I think I get the best jobs here at Harif because I actually am going to get to taste everything. The smells are unbelievable. And Soli is an absolute expert on Moroccan cooking. I follow her on Facebook, and I know on her page every day there's all of these absolutely beautiful dishes enticing you. And I'm actually now in her kitchen here in Ashdod. So she's the queen of the Moroccans. She's known by everybody. When I was shopping in Ashdod, comme avant j'étais dans les magasins, j'avais dit je vais chez Soli Anija ce soir pour manger. Ah oui, so elle est tellement connue. And I'm going to be speaking my franglais. We're going to be English, French. So hopefully we're all going to understand what's happening. I'll do my best to translate as we go along, even though my French is not brilliant for food, but I will no doubt find the right words. So, on va commencer avec elle.
Oui.
OK.
Alors, je m'appelle Soli Anija et moi, je veux faire la tradition de ma famille. C'est centenaire, c'est des mangers que mes grands-mères et mes arrière-grands-mères et ma mère préparaient. C'est moi, je veux garder cette tradition pour qu'elle continue. Mes enfants aussi, ils continuent la tradition. Nous, on ne mangeait pas de laitage au Maroc.
So this
On
is
ne mangeait
very
que
important.
de lait.
Je peux vous arrêter là. So Soli was saying that she prepares traditional Moroccan foods, and these are the foods that were prepared by her grandparents and her great-grandparents all the way back. And she does this in order for her children and her grandchildren to follow the same traditions. And in Morocco, they did not have dairy foods for Shavuot. Is that correct? Yeah.
On n'a pas à manger de lait pour le Shavuot.
Non. Le lait, c'est rien que pour le matin, pour le petit déjeuner.
Only for the mornings, for breakfast.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So what have you got?
Alors, d'abord, c'est le couscous.
So, well, a Moroccan meal would not be complete without couscous. So here comes the couscous.
On fait pour toutes les fêtes, sauf pour le Pessah. Le Pessah, il n'y a pas 8 jours, on ne mange pas de hamet. On mange toutes les fêtes le couscous.
So
Alors,
that's
bien,
eaten
je te donne.
Okay.
right. So that's eaten at all festivals except at Pesach because it's hametz. It's unleavened. Wonderful.
Okay. Et voilà.
Voilà. Maintenant, c'est la tangia.
Aha.
C'est les fruits secs.
So here we've got the dried fruits.
On le fait
that
toutes les
smell
fêtes, toutes
of-
les fêtes.
I think there's cinnamon in there. What's cinnamon in French?
C'est
Cannelle.
avec de l'oignon.
Cannelle.
Cannelle.
Cannelle. Oui. Je crois qu'il y a le cannelle. là.
Voilà.
Okay, so this is the what do they call it? The tagine, is it? It's not the
Il
tagine.
est en bas là.
Yes. Well, it's yes, it's been stewed for a long time. Ça prend combien de temps pour cuisiner?
Ah, ça prend du temps.
Combien de temps? Toute la journée?
Voilà la cannelle, voilà la
Ah,
cannelle.
la cannelle.
Ça, c'est le
Yes, you can see the cinnamon here with all of the juices.
So these are stewed dried fruits, are they?
Okay.
ça.
And then this one here, I know, is marrow.
Voilà.
Right. So
Okay.
squash or
I
marrow?
think we've cut out. Can you hear?
We can hear you intermittently. The sound is not brilliant. Apologies, everybody, but we're at the mercy of the internet in Ashdod at the moment.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, I think we've lost them.
I think, shall we go on to Linda, and then when Michelle comes back in, we'll do Michelle.
Okay, so we will come back to Michelle.
Oh, that was so.
Yeah. Don't tell me that your sound is cutting out as well. Okay, so let's go over to Spain, where we have Linda Dangour. Linda Dangour is an artist, a potter, a graphic designer, and a food writer, and well known for her book, Flavors of Babylon. So Linda, over to you.
Over to me, and as you said, I'm talking to you from Spain, and I do hope the internet will be stable throughout. And before I talk about how the Iraqis celebrate Shavuot and what we eat, I'd just like to give you a little bit of background to the festival. Most religious feasts, if not all, are strongly linked to nature. and to the ancient agricultural festivals, as you all know. And in Judaism, this is no exception. And as the religion was taking shape, some of these agricultural festivals were assigned new names and a new significance, and then absorbed into the Jewish narrative. For example, the Spring Festival and the Barley Harvest Festival became our Pesach. And Pesach is also a spring festival for us, but most importantly, we celebrate the redemption of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt and also their exodus out of Egypt. And as we all know, we recount this story every year. And as an aside, I have an idea that the matzah that the Israelites ate at that time must have been made out of barley flour, because the wheat harvest happens 7 weeks later at Shavuot. So you see the link between Shavuot and Passover. In ancient times, the grain harvest lasted 7 weeks, beginning with the barley season during Pesach and with the wheat harvest at Shavuot. Hence, the name Shavuot, which means weeks. Anyway, it would be interesting to actually taste a matzah made out of barley instead of wheat, but I don't know who's going to do that, but it's an idea. So we celebrate the receiving of the Torah at Shavuot, and like Pesach, Shavuot is also a spring festival connected to the grain season, but this time, as I said, it's connected to the wheat harvest. It's also a time when cows, sheep, goats have been eating quite well, have been well fed during all of spring, and therefore their milk was very abundant and very rich. And I think that is probably one of the reasons why we eat pastry made out of wheat during Shavuot, and also the abundance of milk products at the time would be the right thing to eat during Shavuot. But there are many other theories why we actually eat, why the Jews eat dairy at Shavuot. One, which is a quite nice image, is that milk is white and therefore symbolizes purity. And it's a fitting produce to eat at such an important celebration, if you like. The other one, there's another theory which says that the Torah was given on a Sabbath, and therefore any slaughter of animals were prohibited, so therefore they ate dairy. Does anyone else know of any other reason why we eat dairy? I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. Well, I have read somewhere that because it was the harvest time, the time of the first fruits, the first wheat, as you said, it was customary to have 2 loaves of bread, which symbolized a dairy meal and a meat meal. So it wasn't all dairy. And as the Moroccan lady said, she doesn't have dairy except for breakfast. So they just have the meat meal, which presumably symbolizes is symbolized by the one of the loaves. So yeah. I don't know if anyone else has any ideas, but we will have a look. Carry on, Linda.
As I said before, Shavuot means weeks, but it was known in Iraq as Eid al-Ziyaha. This is Judeo-Arabic, meaning the festival of the pilgrimage. Iraqi Jews traditionally performed a pilgrimage to the holy shrines of the prophets to receive blessings. For example, women who couldn't conceive would go there. Oh, yes, that's very good. I can see the picture. Women who couldn't conceive would go there to receive a blessing and in the hope of conceiving one day. Also, the sick would go there in the hope of being healed. Now, this is the picture that you're seeing at the moment. It's one of the shrines near Baghdad, and it's Ezekiel's tomb, which lies in a town called Chifil. In the north, if you were living in the north, there was the tomb of the prophet Nahum. And if you were living in the south near Basra, you would go to the shrine or the tomb of Ezra the scribe. And people came to these shrines in droves during Shavuot, staying overnight with families nearby, because there were no hotels at the time. And sometimes they stayed overnight, sometimes they would stay a week. So it was a tradition to do this pilgrimage, as the name in Arabic shows, if you like. In our household, we celebrated Shavuot by eating one traditional dish, or should I say one traditional pastry called kahi. For those unfamiliar with kahi, it is a dough made, of course, of wheat flour, which is rolled out very thinly, is buttered, fried, and then sweetened with either sugar, date syrup, and eaten sometimes with khema, which is a clotted cream, but not necessarily. Sometimes we just ate the kahi on its own. I actually never went to Chifil, to Ezekiel's tomb, maybe because I was too young, but I know members of my family. Hello?
Hello, sorry. Slight interruption. Carry on.
If you could show that image again, Lawrence, 1932 image of...
You started talking about khaki, so I jumped forward.
that one. So interesting to note is under Saddam Hussein, most of the Hebrew inscriptions were painted over with white paint. But according to a book...
Oh, shush. Stop it. Switched on. So sorry about this.
My phone's on to not disturb, darling.
Sorry, that was Lawrence's phone. It's all right. Just carry on.
According to a book that was published in 2017 by Tzvi Yehuda, and I would like to quote him, so I'm going to read. He says, since the American occupation of Iraq in 2003 and the fall of Saddam Hussein's regime, the Iraqi authorities undertook to redevelop the tomb complex, which was in a state of disintegration. However, unfortunately, the local Muslims used this as an opportunity to add Muslim symbols and erase Jewish sign in order to turn the old synagogue courtyard into a Muslim place of prayer. So can we have the two pictures of the mosque and
Lawrence?
Yeah.
Lawrence, please?
Yeah.
There we are. So within this big complex, which is beautiful, is Ezekiel's tomb. It's been sort of absorbed in there. And the next picture will show you the tomb itself, draped in some kind of velvet material. And you can see inscriptions from the Quran, or yes, probably from the Quran, all the way around. So in a way, the Jewish symbol and presence has been wiped out, really, and just absorbed into the Muslim place of prayer. Still, apart what can we do? That's how it is. But coming back to kahi, kahi is a simple Iraqi pastry, not specifically Jewish. What makes it Jewish is, if you like, is that we only eat kahi on Shavuot. Strange, but that is our tradition. And really, it's the simplest, most humble sort of pastry, but it's delicious, actually. It really is delicious. And we use wheat flour to make the dough, which is rolled out very, very thinly, almost like a phyllo pastry. The dough is then cut into rectangles, buttered. So that's probably the dairy, if you like, because we don't usually use butter in our cooking in Iraq. So it's buttered and folded into small squares, a bit like a handkerchief, and then fried. These are then drizzled either with date syrup or sprinkled with sugar. And then, as I said before, eaten sometimes with clotted cream. Today, a lot of people still fry kahi, but quite a lot also bake it for health reasons. And really, truly, it is the most humble sort of dish or tradition that we have. That's the only thing that tells us it's Shavuot, is when we eat kahi.
Fantastic. And can I Etty has an explanation for why we eat dairy at Shavuot, and that is because in the Torah, when we receive the Torah, obviously on Shavuot, it's compared to milk, as in the verse, Dvash v'chalav tachat leshoneh. So that's milk and honey under your tongue. It's from the Shir HaShirim. And then Sandra had a good explanation too. The children of Israel were like a newborn, like an infant, and therefore they were fed on milk. So that's another explanation. Yeah, well, that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Linda. Show her book.
Right.
So we just want to do the commercial break here, and that is your book, Flavor of Babylon.
Thank you.
Available on Amazon.
Thank you.
Okay, so from Iraq, we now go to Egypt. I don't know if we can go back to Morocco or
if they come,
come
back,
yes.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Vivian.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
We'll go to you now while we're waiting for Michelle. Okay. So over to you. I just say that Vivian has written 2 books. One is a marvelous memoir of her childhood in Cairo, in Egypt. It's called From Egypt with Love. And she's written a second book called A Culinary Legacy. Is that correct?
It is, but the subtitle is important. Recipes from a Sephardi Egyptian kitchen.
Right. Well, that's wonderful. So over to you, Vivian.
Thank you, Lynn. So good evening, everyone. So I'm going to start with the traditions first and leave the food till last, because that's probably the most important. So as Lynn mentioned, I was born and brought up in Egypt, so we have special traditions. I remember the synagogue was decorated with plants and flowers and leafy branches, and the bima was decorated with a canopy of flowers. In synagogue, before the evening service, there was a special group of piyutin, which is religious poems, which were sung and summarizing the 613 commandments in rhyme form. They were called asharot, meaning warnings, because the numerical value of the word is 613. And they were composed by Shlomo ben Gabriel, who's the well-known
poet, Jewish poet of the Spanish, I was going to say Egyptian, sorry, Spanish Golden Era. I also remember a Ladino song because my father's family spoke Ladino, especially when they didn't want us to understand, which was most of the time. So they sang a song called La Ketubah de la Ley, meaning the marriage contract of the law. So for us, Shavuot was special because normally in Egypt, we only had lunch as the main meal, and dinner was just a very, very light meal. But for Shavuot, same as Rosh Hashanah and Pesach, we had an evening meal and then we had a lunch as well. But the evening meal was meat and the lunch was dairy. And of course, Shavuot was also the tradition of harvest ceremonies and bringing forth the first fruit. So there was always a first fruit in Egypt because, I mean, fruit was plentiful. You know, you had black figs, red, green figs, so there was always a fruit. So my father used to hold up the fruit, but he didn't say the whole of the Shechianu blessing. He lifted the fruit and he just said Shechianu, not even Shechianu, just Shechianu. And I wasn't particularly curious and nobody explained to me. So for years I thought Shechianu was just like abracadabra, something to do with the fruit. It was only afterwards that I learned that's a special blessing. So on to the food. So my roots are, from my mother's side is Syrian, Aleppo, Jewish Syrian from Aleppo. From my father's side is Sephardi from Spain, expelled in 1492, and then they settled in Constantinople in the Ottoman Empire. So a lot of our food had also Turkish roots. So from my mother's family, they made filo triangles. Normally they would have been filled with spinach or even meat sometimes, but obviously for Shavuot, it was always cheese. And the other thing they made, which was lovely, so in Egypt, the milk was unpasteurized, it was unhomogeneous. Anyway, whatever it was, you had to boil it. And the top of the milk was removed immediately, cooled, and put in the fridge, and it made the most wonderful cream, which we called eshta. So the pancakes, there were small pancakes that were filled with the cream. No, they were fried first, filled with the cream, and then dipped in a sugar syrup. And they're called atayef. And in fact, they're well known throughout the Middle East. And from my father's side, we made borekas. So borekas are the small cheese pastries that Sephardi Jews are well known for. And we also made a rice pudding called sutlach, which is Turkish, Judeo-Turkish. I'm going to show it in a minute, but I wanted to explain that this rice pudding was not made with pudding rice or arbora rice or anything like that. It was just ground rice and milk and cream if you want, and also flavored with rose water, orange blossom water. And I just wanted to show this because that's gold dust for me. That's orange blossom water, but like pure, which you can't get, well, not even in Jerusalem, in the old city. And a friend of mine brought it from me from Tunisia. I've had it for about 5 years. So, and that is, in the photo it's cinnamon, but I've put pistachio. I don't know if you can, no, you can't see it. Can you see it? Yes, we can. We just tip it forward a little bit. Yes, that's lovely. We can see the pistachios on top.
Oh yeah, I've been very generous with that because I'm going to eat it later on. So
yeah, I should hope so too.
I'll give my husband a bit
if he's good.
And in it, well, I'm not commenting on that one. But in Egypt, we also made mahalabeya. So mahalabeya is also a pudding, a milk pudding, but they use corn flour instead of what did I say? Or ground rice. But I've chosen to make sutlach because I think it's more traditional and more Jewish. The other thing we made as well was a biscuit called khamsa biscuits. So khamsa is 5 in Arabic. So the biscuits were, because they represent the hand which you hold out to receive the Torah. And the other thing which one of my paternal aunt made, which I've never made, is a cake called siete cielos. So it's a 7-layer cake. Siete is 7 in Spanish, and cielos is heaven. And they were supposed to commemorate Moses passing through the 7 heavens to reach the divine seat of God in order to receive the Torah on behalf of the Jewish people. But I've never made that cake, but I know that we made it. I'll make it one day. I think that's about it. Sorry, I've got nothing more to say.
Okay, that's absolutely lovely, absolutely mouth-watering.
There's a lovely picture of it.
And there's a lovely picture of it. That's cinnamon
Yeah.
on top, not the pistachios.
And here's the famous book, or one of them.
Oh, that's the book. Available on Amazon as well. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay, so thank you very much for that, Viviane. Let's see if we can go back to Ashdod, to our Moroccan lady, Soli. Are you there? Michelle and Soli? Yes? In the spotlight?
No, Michelle's not here.
Yeah, no, she's there. I can
Where?
see her.
Where?
She's there. She's
Oh.
waving.
Right. Okay, Michelle, do you want to unmute yourself?
Okay, the dinner's getting cold.
You just went out for fish and chips, didn't you?
No, that would be a travesty.
So if you've been watching through the little window, you would see that we have carried on because the food was too delicious, but the internet connection is just terrible. It's the winds here, it's the sand blowing up from the Negev, and I don't know, but we were explaining this one, weren't we? There's now only one left with the marrow, which has got here the almonds, the raisins. Tu vas expliquer?
Oui, en français.
Oui, ça va.
Yeah.
Alors, ça, c'est la courge avec les raisins secs, les pruneaux, et ça, c'est des amandes effilées.
Sliced almonds there.
Okay,
And
lovely.
I can
So
assure
that's squash or marrow with raisins and prunes, is it?
Yeah.
And sliced almonds.
almonds in there and raisins. Not prunes in that one. There was prunes in the first one.
En bas, c'est de l'oignon.
Onion base. Onion base. It's super sweet, and of course it's got cinnamon in it as well.
Exactement comme du miel.
It's like honey. It's like honey. It really is. It's absolutely fantastic.
Et on met de la cannelle.
Mm-hmm.
Oui, la cannelle et comment on dit les daphna? Le laurier, les feuilles de laurier.
Really?
Feuilles de laurier.
Bay leaves. Bay leaves.
I know, I got a mouthful. Yeah. Yes, I got a mouthful.
Ça, on met tout ça sur.
I know, it's really, really good. Shall we explain the lamb?
Ça, c'est l'agneau.
This.
So this is the pièce de résistance, the lamb, right?
Le rôti.
Yes, so this, qu'est-ce qu'il y a dedans?
C'est avec l'ail et le persil.
Okay, it's with the oil and the
garlic,
parsley.
Yes, garlic and parsley.
Et le cumin.
Yeah, and the cumin.
That's cumin, yeah, cumin.
Black pepper, and you mix it together. I noticed the photos in the beginning, so everything's in separate pots, but I noticed the photo that was in the beginning.
C'est les côtelettes.
So they're lamb cutlets here,
Right.
which is absolutely fantastic. And there's also, I can see here, we've got the poulet, the chicken.
Alors, le poulet, il est frit.
It's been fried.
Right.
Et les aubergines.
And the same with the aubergine.
Parce qu'au Maroc, il n'y avait pas de frigidaire.
Exactly. There was no fridges in Morocco. Everything
il y a beaucoup,
fresh.
il y a 50, 60, 70 ans, il n'y avait pas de frigidaire et ils faisaient tout frit, tout. Ça,
Everything is
c'était
fried.
comme de la confiture.
Mm.
Et ça, c'est comme de la
Everything's-
confiture. Alors, et il y a la matboucha qui se garde aussi. C'est comme de la confiture de tomates.
And this one
Et
here,
ça, la confiture de patates.
sweet potatoes with cinnamon, cloves. I can see the cloves here. And
La confiture pour la fête de Shavuot.
yeah, this is made specially for Shavuot, and I really can't wait to try it. It looks fantastic. It's really, yes, absolutely. And
Et ça,
we've got the
ça,
pickles.
on faisait toujours parce qu'on ne pouvait pas faire beaucoup de salades,
Oui.
parce qu'à cause il n'y avait pas de frigidaire. Alors,
Again.
on faisait les variantes
Yeah, so
Les
there's a
variantes.
mixture here.
avec des carottes,
There's peppers, carrots,
oui,
and
avec le
citron,
citron
lemon.
et le chou,
Mhm.
oui, et
Le
le
cabbage.
Peppers.
ouais.
Peppers.
Peppers.
Quoi, for,
Et
like,
ça,
yes.
ça, on faisait pour l'apéritif, c'est les œufs à la mimosa.
Ah,
So
that's
look, this
starter.
Ça pour l'apéritif. Les
Yes.
œufs à la mimosa avec le thon, la mayonnaise et le jaune d'œuf. C'est les œufs, oui. Avec
so
le
you've
thon.
got the yolk effect. So underneath, you've got tuna here, and the yolks have been taken
Et le
out,
jaune d'œuf,
and they've
vrai,
been
comme la
grated
mimosa, oui.
on top. And that, oops, we don't want that to fall on top. And I think those are all of the dishes. And in fact, Solly made some extra. So we're going to afterwards
Yeah.
update the recipes that we've already, and after we finish tonight, and I've tried everything,
Yes.
we'll go through the recipes and update the website so that we get it all
That sounds
right with the
fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. Gosh, I am so jealous that you have this fantastic banquet in front of you. Isn't it wonderful? Okay.
Right,
So,
just apply to the website.
Absolutely, it's
Yeah.
really, it's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and if you want to, if you want
To-
all
to
of the
actually see it.
recipes,
Yeah,
on
Our
Facebook.
screens disappeared. Here we are.
yeah, go back to Michelle. Go back to Michelle.
There's no Michelle, darling.
Can
Where
you
are
hear
you?
us?
Yeah.
We can hear you, yes. I just had
think
one
we-
question, which is why does Solly prepare so many sweet dishes for Shavuot? Is it to do with this verse, to do with milk and honey? Does she know exactly what the symbolism is? Have we lost her? Oh dear, it's blowing a gale in Ashdod. I think we've lost her.
I'm going to put add spotlights for all of our great chefs tonight and for our great compere. And if Michelle comes back, I'll add her to
Okay.
the group.
No, we know it wasn't milky in Morocco. No, absolutely. Nothing that Solly prepared had milk or dairy in it. Absolutely. She did explain that, if anything, they ate meat.
Because they had no fridge.
It was all pickles and meat, I think. So thank you very much indeed for that. So we've got a few comments in the chat. Thank you for that, Ben. In Morocco, every Yom Tov has sweet meals with lamb and couscous. Thank you for that. Oh, and Isabel says her Moroccan husband has had milky couscous.
Oh,
Right, that's interesting. So maybe that is the sort of influence of, I don't know, because more and more people associate Shavuot with dairy products. So I don't know, is this the sort of the influence of milk or dairy on Shavuot? I think the Moroccans are holding out
to their meat dishes. They're about the only ones who have this tradition, as far as I can tell.
It's quite amazing the difference between the festive table of the Moroccan and our simple kahi in Iraq.
Absolutely, yes. As Ben says, yes, some cities in Morocco would use milky couscous, but not in Marrakesh. Thank you for that. So that's a sort of regional variation then. Yeah, the website address where all our recipes will be found is www.harif.org.
And it's in the chat.
Yeah, it's in the chat, but you will have to look in past events, because after today, the event will actually go onto a different page. So are there any other questions? Anybody want to share any of their memories or their favorite dishes? Some silence.
Right, I'm going to open up the call for everyone to join in. We've got one person on the call whose name is Seven. We don't know who you are, so I'm going to have to take you out of the meeting unless you let me know who you are or change your name. It's a condition you are coming on our calls that we know who the people are, and we don't know who you are. So either change your name in the next minutes or you'll be taken out.
But I think everyone's unmuted, aren't they?
I'm waiting for number 7 to see if they change their name.
7. Not a lucky number here.
Right, I'm going to put 7 back into the waiting room. Okay.
Okay.
Everyone can now unmute themselves.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Lynn. Hi, Lauren.
Oh, hi there,
Thank
Holly. How are
you.
you? You know, it wouldn't be a Harif event without
I am Linda.
Oh, dear. Can't hear you, Holly. Sorry, I think we're having
I know, and I
technical gods are not with us tonight.
Happy journey to Sao Paulo.
Oh, thank
And
you so
Linda
much.
and Vivian and Soleil, thank you so much. Nice.
No, lovely to have you all the way from
There weren't. I had trouble on my end, so thank you for bringing me back in. Thank you for bringing me back in. Linda and Vivian and Sully, thank you for your wonderful presentation. And I want to ask, is Michelle with Sully in France?
No, she's in Israel, in Ashdod. Yes.
Oh, in
yes.
Israel, because Sully's speaking French.
That's
so I
right.
thought,
Well, of course, the Moroccan Jews do speak or did speak French.
Yeah.
And I might as well give a plug to Solly for her book. She wrote a book, I think in French, about her journey from Morocco to Ashdod. I think it's called Journey from Exile, something like that.
I would like to also say that, excuse me, that the kahi,
yes,
that looks like our Wisconsin kringle. Which is a phyllo pastry dough, and in between is either cheese or raspberry. You could take your pick at the bakery. And also I learned something, biscotti, that's mandel bread, but biscotti sounds a lot more exciting than mandel bread, even if I may say so.
Oh, that's very interesting, isn't it?
There was something to kahi in Egypt, which is called fetira, which was phyllo paste turned by the baker like a pizza and then folded and put in the oven. And it was also served with either sugar or the eshta that Vivian mentioned earlier. Also with
yes,
ish saraya, which is royal bread, and that is very Turkish, and which is also served with a layer of clotted cream on top. Delicious.
Oh, yeah, I made it. I make it as well. I should have mentioned it. And by the way, amidon or starch that you mentioned, Mohalabea, corn flour is cornstarch. It's the equivalent in England.
Yeah.
Starch.
Yeah. I've got a very interesting recipe that I made up with cornstarch, corn flour, with hazelnut milk. And you just make it as you, with double the amount of corn flour than you would normally. You put it into little molds, and it's, yeah, I just made it up.
And that sounds like a good parva alternative.
It's brilliant. You put some hazelnuts on top and some cream and some berries.
Not parva, it's dairy. Okay.
Yeah, it is Parev. Yeah, it's vegan.
Right. Perfect.
Hazelnut milk.
Vegan alternative.
Now,
Thank you.
Anyone made in the comments said something about fairs. If they'd like to talk and tell us about it, it would be fantastic. Be Ben.
Be Ben.
Viviane, there is also something called belila, which used to be served.
I know, I can't stand it. They gave it to, I think it was the baby's first tooth, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I've described it in my book as something wonderful, but I can't stand it, but I didn't say that.
Delicious.
No.
Right. Be Ben, about
Fairs.
about fairs.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello
Hi,
there.
can you see your eyes? We can't see your face.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Just move your screen very slightly.
Lower the screen, maybe.
Lower the screen slightly.
Lower the screen.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. I'm not so.
There you go. There's very lovely, pretty face.
See you. Yeah.
Shane and Mary.
So, my mother-in-law, Alea Shalom, used to bake these little savories made of semolina. She used to grill a bit of the semolina and mix it with, she used to make kind of the fresh mint, pour water over, let it stand, and then mix with a bit of water, of sugar, sorry, icing sugar, semolina, and a bit of a juice of the mint. And then she mix it and make a little like oblong pastries, but it's not cooked. It's just all raw. And it's something you either like or you don't. And I did not.
Right.
Do you have any recollection of eating matzah at Shavuot?
It's not really in Shavuot. We eat it like yesterday, which is called Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni is like when they could, some people could not manage to bring the sacrifice on Pesach, so they would give them the chance to come on Pesach Sheni, which is yesterday, which was also the Hilula of Rabbi Meir Ba'alanes.
Okay.
Would anyone else like to share, particularly from a country we haven't heard already? Anyone from Tunisia or Libya?
Well, I came across a mention of something called rabel. That wasn't
rabel. That's what.
That's what you were describing.
Yes.
Right.
So they used to serve it to us. I mean, my mother-in-law used to serve it to us before lunch with a bit of milk, half a glass of milk. It's like a bracha, like in Mimuna, they gave us a drop of milk with the mofleta. So in Shavuot, they would give us this bit of savory with a drop of milk, which milk is like like the Torah is like milk,
right?
So hence the milk in Shavuot.
Right.
Possible the Cleveland want to remind us about the manna, the man.
My husband is saying, because he's from Fez, yeah,
right.
He's saying that the Cleveland possibly were reminding us of the manna, which had no shape or it's something that you like or you don't like. But I'm sure that in the time of the manna, everybody loved it because it had all the taste that you wanted to.
We were invited to a Mamuna in Tel Aviv this year, and everyone had their head sort of sprayed with mint leaves dipped in milk. Can you explain the significance of that?
Sorry?
We had everyone's head
Yeah,
they put mint leaves in milk.
but that was the mimuna.
The mimuna.
Yeah, I wonder if milk has a special significance even at Pesach. Does it bring luck?
Milk, yeah, it
Yeah.
brings luck because it's white and it's
Yeah.
pure,
Pure,
and
right.
like the Torah is pure and yeah, it's comment dirais-je? Ça reflète la Torah. It reflects on the Torah. The Torah reflects on the milk.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I was told there was a typical Tunisian dish for Shavuot. I don't know if anybody knows. Is it something like the bede au beurre? Something like that?
No.
No? Doesn't ring a bell.
No. I was saying about Solianija when she showed you the sweets, prunes, you know, the prunes with raisins and onions. It's a meal that we do in every Yom Tov, like Rosh Hashanah.
Right.
The first meal of the day would be couscous, accompanied with this meal. So you fry the onions in a kind of a caramel with a bit of oil, and then you add your prunes that you have soaked and raisins as well.
Sounds delicious.
And at the end, you add a bit of walnuts. It's very nice and tasty. And some also
Michelle,
have
sounds
vegetables.
delicious.
I see you.
Yeah, do you enjoy
You're
your fish
back.
and chips?
I'm surprised
Michelle?
you haven't polished off all that food yet.
Yeah, how are they doing? Did they get the dessert yet?
It's a beautiful table by Solianija.
Yeah.
Michelle, bring us some.
Did they
I
get
was
the
saying that
dessert
it's
yet?
such a beautiful table, Solianija.
Are you muted? Are you muted?
No, I didn't touch nothing. I'm
You have
not
no
any.
sound.
Can't hear
Oh,
you.
dear, dear.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's muted.
No,
everyone can unmute themselves. You just unmute
Can you unmute yourself?
Everyone can unmute themselves.
No, can't.
It's not a function I'm controlling anymore.
Sorry.
Oh, okay, now I am muted. I was saying that the table at Solianija was a beautiful table. Michel,
There they are.
Soli, votre table est très belle. Kola kavod.
Merci beaucoup, merci. Venez
Et
manger.
Michel, merci beaucoup, on viendra. Michel, apporte quelques-unes. Michel, bring some food over here.
Yes,
I will.
You are teasing all of us.
I know, it really is absolutely fantastic. But you're also a fantastic cook as well, Gloria. So,
Thank you so much.
I'll have to come
Enjoy
house.
your stay in Israel.
Je vais emballer tout ça, elle va l'amener à Londres.
Ah, c'est gentil. Avec un petit peu de cigare aux amandes, s'il vous plaît, et que la confiture aux aubergines.
Okay. Now,
Okay, thank you very much for giving us the
On
chance.
n'a pas encore essayé. On n'a pas encore essayé. Après, on va
J'ai fait
essayer
la
les-
pomme de terre
des-
douce.
sweet potatoes.
I have never seen the sweet potato made into jam. Must be
My mother used to
that
make.
way, because Solianija from the north of Morocco, which is like maybe Tangier, so she has some Spanish food and recipes different from all Morocco. So she has these sweet potatoes and other things.
Which
Allez,
you
Michel, give us an idea.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you.
Michelle, as we've got to
C'est magnifique.
Yes.
La canette, elle est tout dure.
Okay.
Julia Child, eat your heart out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. It's like melting in honey. It's absolutely. C'est du miel? Il y a du miel. Moi, you make. Oui, je
Because,
sais. Mais miel aussi. No.
Sweet potato is already sweet in itself. Even when you put it in the oven as slices with a drop of oil, is already like kind of honey.
Honey, yes.
So I imagine must be something good.
And the cloves. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm sure it's bad for my diet, but I'm not even.
Yeah.
of how much sugar is in it, but I can definitely.
You can catch up in Morocco, back in London.
So we want all those recipes, Michelle. Can you ask Solly? Write them down for us?
Yes, yes, it's ginger in it. I can taste the ginger.
Limon tat.
Lemon and
limon.
Elle a mis du citron. Vous avez mis du citron, madame? Solly, please can we have recipe, please?
Yes, we will have all the recipes on the Harif site.
Un kilo de sucre. Just learned there's a kilo of sugar in there.
Oh, sugar. Vivian, you wanted to say something? Yeah, a couple of things. One of them, because it'll bug me, I forgot to say that the most important thing, the sutlach, is the rose water or orange blossom water. That makes it quite special. Right. The other thing is I wanted to ask Alain whether he remembers. I remember the sweet potato. My mother used to make it into a dessert. Just put sugar and cinnamon and put it in the oven. And I haven't heard anybody else make it. So I was wondering if Alain remembers that in Egypt. Do you remember it? Have you ever done it?
What are the ingredients?
Just sweet potatoes, but instead of making them savory, she used to put sugar and put them in the oven. So it was like a dessert.
Yes, we used to have, it was like a baked sweet potato.
Yeah, more or less, but yeah. She cuts it, yeah.
I can't remember the exact name, but yes, it was part of our diet. And another thing that was very popular are the sweet carrots.
The what?
The sweet carrots.
Oh, the sweet carrots. No,
that sounds like simmus. Is that an
it is a bit, yeah.
From Nazi cuisine.
By the way, I don't know if you can see, this is the pot where the sweet potatoes were cooked in. Okay, so that's come off of the hob. Well, so that was sweet potatoes.
I mean, we're moving away from sweet desserts, but there is one dish that's 100% Syrian Egyptian. It is molocheia.
Oh my God. Yeah. Nothing to do with Shavuot.
No, that's eaten all the year round, isn't it, Alain?
Yeah.
What is that?
What is that? Go on, Alain, you explain it.
Okay. It's a vegetable that looks like spinach and that is chopped very thinly and cooked, boiled. And in Egypt, they used to put, the Jewish family used to put chicken, the non-Egyptian family used to put rabbit. But anyway, and it was spiced up with oil and ta'aleya, which is like.
Do you know what ta'aleya is, Lynn?
No.
Ta'aleya is very simply olive oil. Or no, it would have been sunflower, vegetable oil. When it boils, you throw garlic and coriander, and you pour it boiling like this over the molocheia, and that's what makes it. But with ta'aleya, you can use it for anything else.
Sounds delicious.
It is. It's very glutinous, though.
Coriander and olive oil.
More sunflower oil. Olive oil burns very quickly, doesn't it?
Yes.
So,
yes,
and that would have given a special taste to the.
Yes, and the thing
is, kind of makes it, doesn't it? Yeah.
And the thing is to eat it either over rice or rice in the molocheia, which either as a soup or as a sauce.
Lynn, in London, you can go to any Middle Eastern supermarket and they will sell molocheia in frozen packets, and it's actually very good. I'll send it's in my book, but if you want to, I'll email you the recipe if you're interested.
That would be a lovely addition for us. Thank you very much.
If you're in London, go on Edgewood Road. Any of the Middle Eastern restaurant will serve it.
Well, I don't know an Egyptian Jew who doesn't rave about molocheia.
No. I think we shall have to have an in-person event
like
and
comfort
taste all
food.
these dishes.
Well,
days.
Ashkenazi Jews have has chicken soup. We have molokhaya.
Yeah. Okay.
Just for information, molokhaya is made out of okra leaf.
Ah, okay.
Ah.
Thank you for that.
Never seen that. Ah.
Amazing, amazing.
The
So-
Ashkenazis always have to have the final word.
I just wanted,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say to Soleil and Michelle, c'est magnifique, bon appétit.
Merci, merci.
Merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup.
Magnifique.
I make one more comparison.
Oh,
to
that
actually-
looks delicious.
Well, Hannah was chef, I would say.
The
nowadays.
cheesecake. Oh my God.
But we're not here to talk about cheesecake tonight.
I'd never heard of cheesecake until I came to England.
That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, but I must say it's very commonly, it's very common to eat cheesecake. I think nowadays, isn't it? A lot of Sephardim do prepare cheesecake. I know I do. I must confess.
Oh, okay. Say nothing now.
I'm Sephardi. I was married to an Ashkenaz, and my mother was Ashkenaz, so I never learned. I never knew a lot of the Sephardi cuisine. So it's absolutely fascinating to hear all about it.
Yeah.
My grandmother was from Tunis, and unfortunately, she lost her sight when she was. My parents hadn't been married very long, and so showing my mother how to do things was very difficult. She did show her how to make kofta and rice, but as I say, very shortly afterwards, it was just about months after I was born, she lost her sight.
Oh,
So I'm always fascinated to hear about the cuisine, and thank you very much to our chefs tonight. It's been fascinating.
thank you very much, and thank you. Oh, Levana's on the call. Perhaps we can just finish with a comment from Levana, because she is a food writer. She has published her recipes as well, also from Egypt. Levana, where are you?
I am here. It was delicious.
Can you switch on your camera?
Yes, it was delicious. I loved every moment of it. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us.
If you ever get a chance, have Levana's date pastries. They are amazing.
Yeah, they're called mamul, but they're not necessarily.
You are all invited. You are all invited. You are all invited.
Thank you. We're coming, Levana. I hope the internet is better in Tel Aviv than it is in Ashdod.
We used to have the baluza. You remember, Alain?
Yeah.
The baluza.
Yeah.
The baluza.
Yeah,
the baluza was.
How do you translate baluza? Actually,
Baluza, you know, when a belly dancer is really good, we call her baluza because her belly is like the baluza. Baluza. This is the baluza. It's like a medusa.
Actually, I found out something very interesting the other day, which I didn't know. Mamul in Egypt was called menenas.
Menena,
We refer
yes.
to them as menenas. Well, what I didn't know was menena is actually a Sephardi. The Sephardi word for mamul.
Somebody told me that menena is menena from us to you. Always we had menena. Always we had menena at home. Always. Perhaps somebody will come. You know, they never phoned. They came. The visitors. They never called before coming. It was an honor for us to receive visitors like that. Never telling us they are coming. They just passed by and they come. So we always had menena and kah. You know, always at home.
And rarayeba.
Mamul press.
All these, yes.
Yeah,
the dry.
Mold, yeah.
To make mamul.
The mamul. Yes.
That's for the nuts one. The long ones are usually nuts. We made them round. Right. Another thing that Egyptian Jews can't live without.
It's very interesting to hear you talk about mamour.
C'est fini et appelez.
Ah, d'accord.
Dès que c'est fini.
Tu as quelqu'un?
Sorry, it's picking up my voice here.
It's all right. Yeah, I was saying it's very interesting to hear about mamour. We grew up with them in Shara Tzedek synagogue because they're all Syrian, Iraqi, and they all used to make them for Yom Tov. And so we always had a taste. But Evelyn Rose, who is a wonderful, late Evelyn Rose, a wonderful, wonderful cookery writer. I was looking at a recipe for hamantashen, which didn't involve yeast dough. And one of her recipes, the pastry, she said, is actually the same or very similar to what they use for mamour. And so I used that recipe. It wasn't too bad, but I think I can improve my technique.
What was it? What did you use?
Oh, I can't remember if it was flour. I'd have to look it up, and I don't have the book to hand.
I think Nirvana would know.
You could use a shortbread recipe. It's very acceptable.
Now, this wasn't a shortbread recipe. It was a lovely pastry.
It works very well for mamour.
And then you use semolina as well to make it flaky.
Yeah.
The Jews only used butter and flour, didn't they, Livana?
Yes. And never semolina, never.
No,
I can't remember whether I used. I think I wanted
semolina.
I wanted them Paris, so I used margarine, so the taste would be obviously slightly different.
It won't work, I think, with margarine. I'm not sure.
I can't remember. I really would have to look it up.
There is
if anybody's interested, I will look it up and put a note on or pass a message on to Lynn.
Yes, pass a message on to me. Gosh, I've got a lot of material to upload onto our website here. And I think
how do I pass it on to you? Do I put it on the Facebook page, your Facebook page?
Yes,
how do I?
if you want, or just write to me at info@harif.org and it'll get to me. Thank you, Sonia.
Just to add one more dish.
Okay, the last word.
I just wanted to add one more dish for Viviane.
Yeah. Go on.
The equivalent of what the Ashkenazi eat, which is the latkes.
Yeah.
The Egyptian used to do something called zalabia, which is in Greek, it's called lukumad, which is the puffed donut, deep fried and powdered with sugar powder or honey. And we used to buy them on the street, or the family used to make them at Hanukkah as a substitute.
You have to eat them hot.
Oh gosh.
Yes. Before we go, can I just say something to Alain?
All right, last word from Vivian.
No, it's nothing to do with that. But Alain has done this wonderful Les Fleurs de l'Orient. That's you, isn't it, Alain?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I checked it years ago. You've got my two sisters, but you haven't got me. As far as you're concerned, I don't think so.
Up to date.
I'll send you an email. I'll send you a message.
Sister.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you a message.
Right. Well, I think we have to close now, but I just wanted to thank our wonderful chefs for their contributions. Thank you so much. Thank you, Michelle and Solly. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Viviane. And happy cooking. Happy Shavuot. And I hope you all have a wonderful Hag. So thank you for joining us, everybody. We come back in 2 weeks with a visit to Jerba, where Nigel Grizzard will be talking about his pilgrimage to the Al Ghriba synagogue. So that'll be something to look forward to. Meanwhile, thank you so much. And see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Stay well, everybody.
You too.
Stay well. Bon appetit.
Bye.